Hi everyone, my name's Mr. White. I am the new Vice Principal here at Skinner's Academy, and I'm going to provide you with some guidance now on how Year 11 and Year 13 assessment will work this year. I hope you've seen in the news there's been quite a lot of information out there now about how this is going to happen, and it's up to schools to communicate with students and with parents how that system is going to work for each individual school. So that's what this presentation is going to do. I'll recommend that you pause the video here and just read this really helpful graphic that Ofqual have provided. So as you can see, the way that your grade is going to be worked out is by teacher judgment. And so your teachers are going to be determining your grade. There is no algorithm being used, so you're not just going to be given a grade because the computer has decided that's the grade that someone like you should get. That's not happening. It's your teachers who are going to use a body of evidence to determine what grade you deserve. What that evidence will look like and how we're going to compile it is what this presentation is going to help you to understand. Your results days will be A-Level 10th of August, GCSE 12th of August. Most of the information in this presentation is not going to be relevant for BTECs. BTECs have a separate set of guidance that we will send out to you. So how will my grade be decided? Well, this is now where we get into the Skinner's model of doing this. We have checked though, and we've worked with other schools to make sure that this model is comparable, and it's fairly standard across the teaching profession to be using these sources of evidence. First of all, we are going to have end-of-year exams in mid-May. A lot more on those in a second. We're going to use assessments from throughout the course. That'll be end-of-unit tests, things like that. We're going to do one new assessment before the end-of-year exams. Any coursework that's relevant will also be used. And then any portfolios or ongoing project work would obviously form a part of the evidence as well. It will be subject-specific. Again, I'd recommend you pause the video and just have a look at the calendar from when you return to when you finish your exams. So as you can see, we are just coming out of remote now on the 8th of March, back to school to be tested, and then straight back into lessons. So what we've devised is a system that will allow you to have as many lessons as we can possibly give you, while still giving us time to set you exams and to mark them and to send those grades off. There are about 6 teaching weeks after you return, and you're going to be doing internal exams. So those are not exam board exams, those are Skinner's exams. Doing internal exams between the 3rd of May and the 14th of May. So let's have a look at how a subject is going to use this evidence then. We've got Maths GCSE, Art GCSE and Psychology A-Level. Maths GCSE is going to be made up mainly of the end of year exam, then any assessments and tests that you've done, and then any other previous data from the previous course. When the maths department take in all that evidence, they will then decide on a final grade for each student. So as you can see, the end of year exam for maths is going to be really, really important at GCSE level. So you're going to have to revise really hard, just as you normally would for that end of year exam. For Art GCSE, it's a portfolio only subject. So the only evidence that's going to go towards your Art GCSE would be that portfolio. And I've added an example here from A-Level just to show you what most subjects will be like. Now, psychology are going to be made up in exactly the same way pretty much as maths. There's going to be an end-of-year exam. There will also be assessments and tests that will provide data. And then there will be previous data from the course that may be used as well, although obviously that will be a lot less important than the exam and assessments. What will these end-of-year exams be like? Because on the face of it, this sounds unfair, right? Exams were cancelled, and they were cancelled because they were going to be too unfair, because students had different experiences of the pandemic, and so the overall results were unlikely to be fair. So how are we going to try and make this fair? That's what this whole system is designed to hopefully do. We're going to have one exam per grade that you receive. So English Literature GCSE will have an exam, English Language GCSE will have an exam, Combined Science will have 2 exams, French will have 1 exam, History 1 exam. 1 exam per grade on your results day sheet. Your teachers are going to decide on the content that has been best taught, best learned, most comprehensively covered since the start of the course. And they are going to take that content and put it into one paper, one new paper. They will then create this paper, hopefully designed in a way to give you the best possible chance of doing well. Your remaining 6 weeks of lessons are going to focus purely on that content. So they are going to form, these end of year exams will form the main piece of evidence for your final grade. They are not the only source of data we'll use, but they are the most important source of data in many cases. So revising for your end of year exams is going to be vital in getting the grade you deserve. If you miss an exam due to COVID-19 or for any other unavoidable reason, you're not going to be disadvantaged. So we are not going, obviously, if you're self-isolating and so you can't attend 5 or 6 exams, you are not simply going to get a U for those exams like you would normally if you just missed an exam. We will take that into account. The whole system is designed as a safety net to deal with the issues that came out of the pandemic. So let me give you some concrete examples. Now here's Sociology A-Level. Sociology A-Level normally has 3 papers in it, 3 exam papers. And each of those would be 2 hours. Now what we're going to run this year is a new paper, just one paper, that is 2 hours long. And we are going to decide what content to take from paper 1, 2, or 3. It may be that we don't choose any content from paper 2 or any content from paper 3 and we just go with the others. That's completely up to the sociology department, and that's what we're deciding at the moment. So a sociology A-level student will just have one end of year exam. A religious studies student will just have one end of year exam rather than the 2 normal papers. So hopefully you understand there, that's the way the exams are going to work. Will your grades be fair in the end? This is probably the question that's on every single student's lips across the whole country. Well, the exam boards are going to provide us with sample questions and materials that will mean that we are able to give you questions that have hopefully been unseen with a clear mark scheme. And that will help us to be fairer in our assessment. The exam board is going to provide a lot more detail on how that process will work in the coming weeks to ensure that we give you the fairest grade possible. We are going to moderate really, really thoroughly. All that means is that if I mark your Sociology A-Level paper, another teacher checks my marking to see if they agree. Now that process would be fairly standard. We would do that just with your normal mocks. That process is going to be a lot more thorough, a lot more detailed to make sure that we are being fair to you when we mark your papers. Your names are not going to be on the papers that we are marking, so we will not know whose papers we are marking. It will be no easier or harder than previous years to get the right grade. That is the system that we've created here. We want to make it so that it's no easier or harder to get the grade that you deserve. I want to make this really clear as well. Your behaviour, relationships with your teachers, or your attitude to learning will not be assessed. They are not a part of the evidence that we collect. Okay? So if you have a poor relationship with your teachers, all is not lost, because you can come in, you can work hard, you can change your behaviour so that you are learning really effectively and you can still do well in these final exams. It is not teachers giving grades based on whether they like students. It is teachers giving grades based on the evidence. Now, what happens if you disagree with the grade that you're given? Well, there's 2 different ways that you can disagree. There's a disagree which is an administrative error. So you might say, look, I think you've made a mistake. Did you mean to give me this grade? So if you normally get 7s for English literature and you've got a 2, you might say, look, this seems a little bit strange. Can you go back and check the data input for this for me? And of course, we will then just go and do that. We'll go and do it. We'll go and review that and check whether there has been an error or not. It's very, very unlikely that we will make administrative errors, but it is not unheard of at all. I've known exam boards to make administrative errors. So that's the first layer of appeal for you. And the second layer is probably what we might think of as the more serious layer, which is where you think we've given you a grade that doesn't represent your ability. You think that the evidence points to you having done better than that. And in this case, that's when you will tell us that's what you want to do. We will get in touch with the exam board and explain that an appeal has been made, and the exam board will come back to us, ask for the evidence, and then the exam board will decide whether your grade goes up, stays the same, or goes down. FAQs, frequently asked questions. What if I do badly in my exam but have done well all year, so your end of your exam? Well, we are going to take a wide range of evidence into account. We know that the pandemic has been really difficult for many of us, but the exam is really important, and we are giving you 6 straight teaching weeks, and we're taking out all of that other content in order to give you the best possible chance. So if you do badly in this exam, then you're going to get a worse grade overall than you would have done if you did really well in the exam. And that's no different to what it would be like in normal years. What if I'm sick or isolating during the exam period? I think I've kind of answered that already, but we're going to take that into account, and we would then just use other data to come up with a fair grade. And we will tell you what data that we're using, because we're going to publish that on the website. What if I miss one exam? Well, just like in a normal exam, you cannot miss the exam for anything other than exceptional circumstances. And I mean really, truly exceptional circumstances. In a normal exam season, if you are in bed with flu and you're so ill, you're really struggling even to walk, that actually isn't normally judged as an exceptional circumstance by the exam board. And in this context, we would expect everybody to attend every exam apart from truly exceptional circumstances, such as extreme illness, bereavement, or COVID-19 related reasons. What if I was off school when the content was covered? Well, that's why we are covering it in the next, it's about 6.5 school weeks. We are covering it for that exact reason, just in case we haven't managed to cover it properly so far. Most of your teachers are choosing content that you have already covered and are going over it again in order to be able to give you the best chance of getting the best grade. So what do you need to do now? Well, come to school and get tested when you've been asked to. You need to work as hard as possible when you get into school. Everything that you do is going to build towards your final exam, so you need to use that time really, really well. Follow the guidance, the COVID guidance, in school and out of school. We can only run the school effectively if we control the spread of the virus as a community. If coronavirus is spreading in Skinners, it will make it much, much harder to run a fair process for you, because bubbles will be coming in and out, teachers will be coming in and out, and it will make things a lot harder. So not only morally is it the right thing to follow the guidance, it'll also help the school community to run effectively as well. Okay, thank you for listening. We cannot wait to have you back in school next week, and I hope that guidance has been helpful to you.